Hi, I'm Tinny from Mini Bowl Design, and today I'm going to talk about insulation. A very important thing in backpacking. Now, when I posted my Insultech pad idea on YouTube, almost virtually 90% of the people said, well, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to use it for an underquilt underneath. You're not supposed to lay on it. Everybody I've seen makes underquilts out of it. The people who sell it make underquilts of it. Okay. So, basically, the thought train on that is, everybody else does it that way. If you don't do it that way, you're wrong. Well, think about that for a minute. If everybody does it that way, because everybody does it that way, then nobody's ever going to invent anything new. It's all going to be just that way. And I find hammock campers quite often to be that way. There's a few rogues that will break loose and do something different, but they pretty much, if somebody comes up with a good idea, everybody does it that way, and if you ask them why, they say because he does it that way. That's not creative. Now, sure, I could make an underquilt out of Insultech. But I looked, before I did this, I looked and I saw probably a dozen people doing it. And I noticed probably three major things. One is, they all weighed over a pound. Not good. Two, they were all extremely difficult to sew. There was pleats and draft tubes and suspensions. And I'm not that good at sewing, and I certainly wouldn't do. If I was going to sew all that, I'd go get some down and do it. And three, like all underquilts, they have to be hung correctly. They have to seal around the two ends, and they have to be so high on the sides, and they still leak air. They're not that efficient. And another point I see is, you only need to be warm where you are. The rest of the hammock, it doesn't matter. The hammock, it doesn't know whether it's warm or not. But a quilt goes all the way up around you, and if you actually take the print out where you're laying and leave a couple inches all the way around, you're not even utilizing maybe half the underquilt. The rest of it's just there because it has to be to hold everything in place. I don't like that setup. I don't like underquilts. They work really good, but there's just got to be a better way. There's just I relate underquilts like those big hoop dresses that women used to wear. Looked great, but wasn't the answer. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of something to think about here about the manufacturers and what I just said about being a lemming and running right off the cliff with everybody else. This is a Montbell sleeping bag. Now, their claim to fame on this bag, this is a 30-degree gray goose down bag, and I don't know what this outside fabric is, but it's really, really thin. Now, what they were trying to do with this bag was make a 30-degree bag that was very, very lightweight. The whole thing was about weight. This weighs over a pound. Actually, yeah, I think this is a 30-degree bag. If I'd gotten the 40-degree bag, it would have been a pound, but this is a 30-degree bag, so it's a pound and a few ounces. Okay, now keeping in mind that their main goal was to make this bag light. Now, if I was going to build these bags, being the rogue thinker that I am, since everything underneath you, even though it's gray goose down, is completely and totally compressed and offers virtually no insulation whatsoever. And if you don't believe that, climb into this bag and go lay in a hammock where you're compressing it completely, and then just have a thin layer of hammock and then the ambient atmosphere outside of that. You'll freeze to death in this in a hammock because you're laying right on it, you're squatting the insulation right down, it has a zero R factor. So I'm thinking, if I'm making a bag and I want to make it light, why don't I not put goose down and all this other stuff on the bottom where the guy's going to be laying? Why don't I just leave it out? It doesn't do any good anyway. I'd probably cut the weight of the bag by 30%, cut the price by 30%, and it's going to be just the same. If you're laying on a Neo-Air mattress, it's going to be just the same as the bag with the down. So, that's kind of non-linear thinking. Let me know what you think. I think I'm onto something here. And I noticed a lot of people basically did that by using quilts rather than sleeping bags, because all the quilt really is a sleeping bag with nothing on the other side. And you can use this as a quilt by putting your feet in the foot box and then just curling it over you, not putting anything underneath you, using it backwards. But nobody makes a sleeping bag without insulation on the bottom. And I think that that's just because everybody does it. They does it. I don't think they're really thinking that much about it. I think they think if they make one without insulation on the bottom, people won't buy it. But really, when you stop and think about it, it's a really good idea. So anyway, they're just something to kick around. Leave your comments, let me know. And if you know some place where I can buy some more Insultex, I-N-S-U-L-T-E-X, I Googled it. I got nothing. I found a place that sold it, which I put on the other video, but they're out of stock. They don't have it anymore, and I don't know when they'll be back in. And I can't seem to find another place that sells it. So if you've got a good source for Insultex, let me know, because I Googled it, and I got nothing. Second thing is, when this is done, it'll completely take care of the problem. It'll weigh 10 ounces. Every single one of the ground pads I've seen, of the underquilts I've seen made out of this, weigh 10 ounces with the suspension and the cover and everything else. So if I can make this work, even though it is kind of a redundant 8-layer deal, it'll still be 6 ounces lighter than anybody's underquilt. So sometimes you just got to do it, because if you just follow everybody else's ideas and you don't change, nobody's ever going to come up with a better way to do it. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think underquilts are the answer. I think somebody will come out with something much, much more efficient and much better eventually. Once they get done doing the lemming thing, somebody's going to come out with something better than underquilt, because underquilt to me just doesn't make any sense. It's just too much material over too big an area to warm a very small area, just from the back of your neck down to your bottom. So I'm Tinny from Big and Bold Design. Get out and hike, take a friend, enjoy the great outdoors. More important than anything, think, be nice, leave no trace, and have a really great day. Well, this tagline just keeps getting longer and longer and longer.